Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Today, our episode is brought to you by TechSite Builder. TechSite Builder is a hosted website builder that allows you to quickly and easily get a clean and professional website up and running for your computer or tech-focused business. Save time and frustration with TechSite Builder. To learn more, head on over to techsitebuilder.com. It's also brought to you by the DC Unconvention 2017, the second annual conference for IT business owners, where you can learn from fellow techs and business owners, get strategies that work in the real world, and discover new tech. Learn more at unconvention.io. On this episode, we have Richard Tubb, author of the book, The IT Business Owner's Survival Guide, and he's going to talk about how you can leverage outsourcing to grow your business. How can delegating tasks in your business help with marketing, and what are the best things to outsource? Plus, we talk about the importance of your website speed, how to leverage chatbots in your marketing, and Paco says his final farewell. All that and so much more coming up right now. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Computer Business Marketing Show. If you own or work in an IT services business, this is the place to learn how to get more clients, keep them happy, and grow your revenue. You can watch, download, and or subscribe to the show notes at computerbusinessmarketing.com. You can also catch our live stream on Facebook every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. Just be sure to like the TechSite Builder page and then click on the following tab and select See First so that the live stream will jump to the top of your Facebook feed. All right, guys, today the topic is all about outsourcing and delegating your computer business marketing and other parts of your computer business. So we're going to talk about outsourcing and delegating and hiring and how it can help you with your marketing efforts for your computer business, whether that's freeing up yourself to do the marketing or whether you're outsourcing the different marketing tasks. We'll talk about how to, best practices around that and how to avoid some of the mistakes that you might run into when you're doing that. And our guest today to help us navigate through all of that is Richard Tubb. And we'll get to know Richard a little bit later when we jump into the featured topic. But before we do that, wanted to just remind folks that this is, unfortunately, this is Paco's last episode with the Computer Business Marketing Show. We are going to miss him. So hopefully you guys get a lot out of this. He, let us know last episode that this episode was going to be his last one. So before you go, why don't you let us know what's been happening in your business?
So it's funny because I feel like I should pull one of those, if anyone have seen the movie Wolf of Wall Street. I don't know, Matt, if you've seen it yet.
I haven't.
You have not? Oh,
no.
Okay, so
I know it's on my list. I want to, but I haven't.
So for those that watch it, you'll get the reference. But I feel like going in the front of the mic and just basically start screaming obscenities to say, I'm not leaving, but that's not the case this time. And at least YouTube the scene. Just YouTube the scene. I'm not leaving. Wolf of Wall Street, you'll get what I'm talking about. But that would have been pretty hilarious if I did that. But no, unfortunately, this is actually this will be my last show. And I'll kind of go into the whole details later on at the end as we sign out. But kind of what's happening right now, things are just getting bananas. Whether in the business, outside of the business, things like that. I just was reelected as the vice chair of the Hispanic Alliance Career Enhancements Young Professionals Board. So that was pretty, thank you. So that was pretty exciting. My board, we had some new members join on as well. Again, it's great to network and really bring the IT perspective to the board, and just they have a lot of faith on me at least helping lead and helping our chair, focus on the mission of the nonprofit. So it's pretty exciting. With the business, it's been really hard to get to work on my business versus in it. I've had a lot of upsells. I've been consolidating on some of the protection plans where that's kind of some of the working on the business that I haven't gotten to too much that I'd like to. Our RMM system, Ninja, had just had a release yesterday. They released 2 big features that is going to help me consolidate costs and other systems. They released third-party patching, which I was using 994. So that's going to help me go with that and some other integrations. So I got a lot of work ahead of me for that part. I've had a lot of great new clients that have come in a little bit further in distance to travel. So that's causing me to not be in front of a screen and a keyboard. So that's been taking a hindering for me. Although I'm getting paid for it, it's one of those where I'd like to have a little bit more time to start working on the business. One of the things marketing wise that I've been looking into, and we kind of led into this last week, was researching bots. Now, when anybody hears bots, they think of an automated, not so fluent way in Facebook messaging. But what I've come to find out is Facebook messaging or Facebook Messenger, whether it be the contact page on Facebook, it's really just not only Facebook messaging. The live chat that we use TalkTo, TAWK.TO. They actually have a form of bots you can set up, which is in the form of triggers. And the biggest piece of researching it is understanding what your core skills, services you're going to offer. And you have to know what are going to be specific conversations you've normally had with people when speaking over the internet, whether it be on a live chat, Facebook, or even email. And that's where it gets hard, because you have to put in triggers or keywords or phrases that your potential customers or your current customers would use. Now, if you've been in business for a little bit, you can get an idea by looking at your previous work orders, looking at your emails, and really understanding what are the top key things people ask. Now, for me, I've already built a good process in my CRM system with Repair Shopper, where I have canned responses for every step of my process. So it's in a rendition of when someone emails me in asking for a quote, I kind of tell them in 3 pieces. Here's what our process is. Here's what it looks like as far as a range of what it's going to cost. And if you're interested, stop by our office. Here are our hours. Here are our directions. And it's a matter of clicking a button. It pops it in there. It's good to go. So it's translating that, which is a more of a manual / somewhat of an automated process, because I pre-did some of that work, and making it flow in a customer-centric conversation. And that's where it gets difficult. So that's what I've been doing so far. And it's not easy. All I can suggest is look up your resources, look up different ways other companies have used that process, and really map it out, whether it's on a whiteboard, whether it's something digitally. Map out how a conversation will go, because if you prepare and take that time out to do that, you're going to notice that it's going to be a lot easier as you're implementing these pieces. And if you're getting into the realm of bots in any type of chat feature you have available.
Yeah, with the whole bot thing, it's definitely in its infancy, but the chat bot, and we should specify that we're talking about chat bots, not like robots that walk around and do stuff.
or a bot network to take over an actual
fix your dinner or something. Yeah, exactly. Not that either. But yeah, the chat bots, I think, is something very new. And I can see something happening where it's like back in the day when they started to have automated phone systems where you would call and you'd have a bunch of menus and you'd talk to a robot. I can see people consumers will probably eventually start to push back on this once it gets, integrated with everything. And they're like, why can't I just chat with a real person? And, then it'll calm down a little bit. And then there will be certain aspects where bots make sense, but you definitely still want a real person in the process there. But I think this is great for, solo techs and consultants and business owners like yourself who, just don't have time to sit and monitor a chat all day. And,
right.
You're not to the point where you can have a full-time person doing that for you either. And I think this is a great kind of compromise way to, have those live messages on your website or on Facebook or whatever, so you can field those questions from people, give them a response, and then, maybe then follow up with them in person later on.
Right.
But yeah, I think just like, a phone, messaging system, it's a great way to be able to take in new people through that medium and help them out as much as you can without needing to be available for it.
Right. And that's the biggest piece, right? Because I was looking for a solution. The reason why I'm still adamant of researching this is because every single time, like, I have proven that I get a much more increase in prospective leads having the chat open than having it off. The problem is that since I travel probably a good 50 to 60% of my time, it's always when I'm driving. So if I'm on the highway, I can't necessarily pull over to go ahead and chat with this person. So it always ends up becoming a even worse lost opportunity, because not only did I lose the opportunity because it was time taken to get back to them, but the fact that I have an automatic trigger that says, hey, if we can help you, message us. And what ends up happening is no one helped them. So they just got a bad customer support or bad customer service. And so that's even worse than just missing the opportunity. So that's why working on this and just having having my particular spiel spit out at them, and then if they want to talk to someone, essentially their notice got emailed, we'll have a tech call you back or get back to you in the form that you want. So it's all still in the discovery phase, but that's kind of what we're looking at right now.
Cool. Yeah. Sounds exciting. I'm gonna dig into that too. During the free time that exists somewhere in unicorn land that I haven't found yet. But when I do have some free time, I'm gonna dig into the talk to responses and stuff and see what I can set up for Tech Site Builder, because that's really cool. There have been times where I've been like you said, driving or doing something, and then a chat came in and I wasn't able to respond right away. And then the person left and I'm like, oh man, that looks really bad that I have a chat box that pops up, but then I'm not available to answer anything. So cool. So let's see what's going on with me. I just had a thought I wanted to bring up as I was working with a client on a website recently. We're going through some of the different images that they want to use for their website. And the client has been focused more on making sure the image has a picture of the service that they're providing. So this particular client is a bigger IT infrastructure company, and they want to make sure that the picture like shows a server room and it shows network cables and stuff for networking, and I'm trying to steer the client away from being so literal with the imagery on the website, because there's plenty of opportunities to talk about the services you provide, and through the name of your business or through the headline or through some other pictures you can talk about that. But a lot of the imagery, I'm finding it works better if you focus on evoking a certain feeling or emotion instead. So instead of having a picture of a server room, have a picture of, if you're trying to solve a pain, have a picture of a person, frustrated. If you're trying to solve an immediate pain, you can have, images of like a siren or kind of a red tint to the picture. It doesn't have to be literal. It could just be like the color of the image. Or the emotion that the person in the image is feeling. And that I've found is more effective at getting someone to relate to what services you're offering and then follow through. The same thing can be said about just, you want to put forward a professional image or more of a friendly image. You can do that by choosing the type of imagery you use on your website. So if you want to, focus on B2B work and you want to, get corporate clients, then you want to have, pictures of people in suits or pictures of offices, or, people in that type of setting. Whereas if you're focusing on residential, and I've seen this in some Tech Site Builder sites where, someone's focused on residential clients, but they'll have a picture of a guy in a suit and tie using a computer. Does that really speak to residential clients? Probably not. So I just wanted to plant that seed as you're, if you're putting together a website or even if you're putting together advertising, instead of, looking for images that are literally the thing that you're doing, look for images that evoke whatever emotional response you want your clients to have, whether that's you want them to feel calm or you want them to feel like something is urgent, or you want them to feel it's professional, or you want them to feel it's friendly. Think about those feelings and then look for images that evoke those types of feelings.
One thing to add on that is if you can get as many realistic images as possible, that's what you want to do. And by I mean realistic, as in your business, your face, the way that you're at. The more that you can do with that, and obviously there's so many images you can take. There's, with timing, equipment, and what resources you have, but as many of those as you possible that you can put on there, you're going to invoke that feeling of trust a lot more, because it's not just clip art that's on there. But if you're kind of in a position where you just don't have any of that, then obviously, as Matt says, focusing on invoking a feeling is the top goal when you're looking for these type of photos.
Yeah, and even if you are taking a picture of like your shop or yourself, this can follow through into that. So if you want to have a professional feeling, then make sure you're taking a picture of yourself in professional clothing in a professional setting. If you want more of a friendly feeling, then there's some clients of mine that want to have that friendly vibe for residential clients. So they'll take a picture of them, sitting behind their desk or talking with a residential client or in someone's home. So that's something that you can still keep in mind. But yeah, I agree. That's definitely important, is to have some pictures of, if you can, some good high quality pictures of yourself, your shop, you actually doing the work, or your technicians doing the work. That goes a long way. Yeah, definitely to build that trust with people, and that's important. Cool. Wanted to talk a little bit about the Facebook group. So the Computer Business Marketing Facebook group is going well. Got a lot of stuff going on there. You can join it just by searching for Computer Business Marketing in Facebook, and then jump in there, request that we add you, and we'll get you in there. One topic that came up recently that I wanted to talk about was someone posted about, someone posts, and this is always a hot topic, is Facebook stuff. Facebook is the big hot topic these days. That's where everybody is, and so we want to figure out how we can use Facebook to get in front of everybody, because that's where everybody's spending their time, right? They're hanging out on Facebook. People, you see them on the train, you see them at work, you see them at the grocery store, you see them at home, scrolling through Facebook. So if we can leverage that somehow to get in front of our ideal clients, that's great. So people are always bouncing ideas back and forth in the Facebook group about Facebook itself and how they can use it. So someone brought up someone said that there's a button now that says promote local business on your page. Have you seen that, Paco? Do you know what that is?
Yeah, so it's essentially a local version of attracting people to like your page. Okay. So what it does is it's just a different wording of it, but essentially if you click on it, it'll do like a mile radius or whatever it is. And promoting essentially is putting your page or website in front of them. But essentially it's just a localized version of buying Facebook likes is essentially what it is.
Does it like show up in proximity searches, or does it just show up in the feed? Do you know?
It's not so much. I get it depends, because so like proximity searches on Google, you're searching for these businesses in a particular area, or you're in that area. In Facebook, it's not so much.
Yeah, people aren't searching on a map.
Right.
Facebook.
It's more if they're in that location. Now, is it determined by where they live or where they work? That I don't know. But I know that it is set up where if they reside or they're in that zip code, depending on what parameter you put in there, it will show up on the feed, whatever advertisement of your business, which is basically the Facebook page that says like or learn more or whatever it is.
Yeah. So someone was asking about that, and if it's worth it. I guess you got to pay $10 to get that promoted.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I used to be okay. So there was a time where everybody was like, get as many likes as possible on Facebook, and that'll increase your reach and etc. I'm not a fan of buying likes anymore. And that's essentially what it is now. That's what it is. You're buying likes. Now, I haven't looked into the promoting local business as much as I used to, or as far as that particular feature. But what I can say is if there's a way to modify it where it'll drive traffic to your website, then that may make more sense, because if you have the Facebook pixel installed on your website, then you can get better demographic information of who's visiting your site and who's interested. So if you get an idea of who's visiting your site, you'll have better idea of who to target on Facebook.
Yep.
So that would
Yeah.
probably be the only reason. And if it's definitely cheaper than doing whatever other regular ad, then yeah, I'm all for it, because you want to throw as much money. It depends, and I hate saying that because it's what another co-host says on another show. But it's one of those where it's at a double-edged sword. If you're in your business to a point where you're trying to scale, because you're in a comfortable position, you want to get data so you can know how to scale the business. If you are starting out with your business, that may not be the solution you want to take, because you want to spend your money to get as much bang for your buck as possible. And although that's the long game, you need cash flow now. So you want to probably throw that into something that's going to generate more cash, where it's going to be an actionable item on Facebook versus driving traffic to your location in hopes they're calling, or in hopes that they're going to visit your site for that reason.
Right. And so along those lines, someone left a comment on that thread talking about a successful boosted post that he did, which was just a video of him talking about his business and talking about a special. And it's nothing fancy. It's just him, in front of some bushes, talking in a t-shirt, talking, and it's got a call to action. So it's got his phone number right there in the description of the video. It talks about, in the description, it says, don't miss the end of the video. So it gets people to watch till the very end. Something like that, I think, is super effective. And he said he got 10 jobs out of it, which I think is super successful. He paid $40, got 10 jobs. That's incredible ROI. Oh, yeah. So that's something to take a look at and see if you can model something like that. Just throw up a video, keep it real if that's the vibe you're going for, which goes back to what I said previously, if that's kind of the emotion you want to get across. And then, that's what people are used to seeing on Facebook, is videos of people just, in their natural environment, so to speak. So if you're in the group, check out that video. That should give you some inspiration on some stuff you can try. Awesome, guys. So we're going to jump into the featured topic, because I really want to talk to Richard here about outsourcing and all of that stuff. But really quick, before we do that, I just want to give a shout out to our first sponsor, and that is TechSite Builder. TechSite Builder is the place you can go to get more clients through your website. So you can get an effective website, and we host it for you, and we just give you the tools to build your website, or we can build it for you as well. So, if you're the type of person who likes to tinker around and play around with stuff, you have complete control over all those aspects on your website. But if you're the person who, and like we're going to talk about later, if you just want to hand it off to someone else and say, hey, get this done for me, you're the expert, we'll do that as well for you. I've worked hard to make sure that the TechSite Builder platform performs well for my clients. So it's fast, it's secure, and it converts visitors into clients, which is what you're looking for. So you can build landing pages for your Facebook ads. You can also, the homepage of your TechSite Builder website will have a contact form right there, so people can reach out to you right from your homepage. Your phone number, your address, everything you want people to see is prominently featured on every page of your TechSite Builder website. And right now, if you're catching this live, or if you listen to the podcast in the next couple days, we're running a special summer sale for today and tomorrow only. So I think actually, if you're listening to this, you're not going to be able to take advantage of this. It's only the people who are watching live. Another reason to tune in live. But right now, for the next 2 days, you can get 30% off either the monthly or the annual plan for TechSite Builder. To take advantage of that, go to techsitebuilder.com/summer. And that's the only place you can go to take advantage of this sale. And it will be done tomorrow at midnight. So take advantage of that while the iron's hot. And if you've been on the fence about TechSite Builder, hopefully this will be the thing that will get you to try it out. So again, check out that special at techsitebuilder.com/summer. All right. So waiting patiently over here in the other box in the video is, I'm not sure where to point, because I'm not sure where you're going to show up in the final video. But we have Richard Tubb. He's probably the most well-known face within the British IT MSP community. He launched and sold his own MSP business before creating and leading a leading MSP blog and consultancy practice. He's a former owner of a successful MSP business, and now he helps other IT business owners overcome challenges that they face every day. He's written a book. It's called The IT Business Owner's Survival Guide. And he's also got his award-winning blog over at tubblog.co.uk, and that's aimed at putting IT consultants back in control. And you can also find him at Twitter at tubblog. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you for having me, and good evening from Newcastle in the northeast of the UK.
Excellent, excellent. I see when we got started a little bit earlier that your background was very bright, and now it's very dim. So I can see the sun's going down, and
oh yeah, this is live.
yes, you're settling down for the evening. Awesome. Well, thank you for taking some time out of your evening to join us. So before we dive into the featured topic, why don't you just give folks a little idea of your background? You owned your own MSP for a while, and you sold that, and so kind of walk folks through a little bit of your background before we get started here.
Sure, Matt. Well, my background is one, let's be perfectly blunt, of a geek. I'm a technologist. I love playing with technology. I love working with technology, and I've worked in the IT industry all my career. I started out as a one-man band IT technician, fixing PCs, crawling under desks, doing that sort of thing in the early 2000s. And basically, there was a real turning point for me. I think it was around 2004. I read a book called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber, a very famous book. And suddenly the penny dropped for me that I wanted to, instead of owning a job, I wanted to own a business. So I started to build the business up from there, became rapidly quite successful with it, really. And all the way during that time I was building the business up, I was speaking user groups and community groups, writing a blog about all the challenges that I was experiencing, growing this IT business, this managed service provider. In 2010, I decided to sell the business and move on. And quite without planning it, all of that speaking that I'd done, talking about all the issues that I'd experienced, suddenly when I had some free time on my hands, other IT business owners started turning around to me and saying, "Hey, Rick, we notice you're no longer a competitor. Would you come in and share some of the secret sauce with us, some of the things that you've been talking about?" I'd love to say I planned my career that way. I'm not. It wasn't a smart enough move for that. It just happened by chance. But what I do on a day-to-day basis now is really help IT businesses with their growth plans. I help them to overcome challenges and fundamentally to avoid the many, many, many mistakes that I made when I owned an IT business as well.
Yes, mistakes are plentiful, and I think that's just part of owning a business. Is you're going to make mistakes. It's what you do with those mistakes that really kind of sets you apart. Are you going to learn and grow from them, or are you going to and the other approach is to just be so cautious with everything that you don't make mistakes, and that's the wrong way to do it too, because you want to just keep trying and keep pushing. But it's great to have a mentor or someone that you can turn to who has been through it all and who's made those mistakes and can kind of point you in the right direction. And I know for me, especially like when I was a kid, my mom would tell me what I was supposed to do, and then I would do the opposite just to see what would happen. And then I'd realize, I probably should have listened to her in the first place. And that's the same with business advice. You hear all this advice from folks, and then you're like, I'll just go off and try my own thing. I made that mistake quite a few times, and now I realize that these folks who have been through this stuff, they're saying these things for a reason, and that's because they've seen firsthand what happens, and they've corrected, and then they've they have that wisdom behind them. So definitely love what you're doing for the industry, and we need folks like you to help steer the ship of those of us who are just getting started, or those of us who are looking to kind of go to the next level. So we want to talk today about outsourcing, delegation, and specifically around how it can help with marketing efforts, but also just in general, because it's a thing that lots of folks are going to have to deal with if they haven't already dealt with it. So if you want to just kind of share your thoughts about how outsourcing or finding some help with your business can help with the marketing aspects. How can we use that and leverage that to help with marketing and IT business?
Sure. Well, I think fundamentally, when I speak to IT business owners, managed service provider owners here in the UK and worldwide, the number one thing that they say they should be doing that they aren't doing is marketing. And I'll do that when I find the time for it, and the time never comes because the phone's ringing and you've got clients, and the half-life of knowledge and information in the IT industry is so short. It's probably about 18 months, isn't it? We've got to continuously be learning. So as computer business owners, as IT business owners, there's all these things that we have to do, and then there's things that we should be doing, the important and the urgent, and we never seem to get around to the marketing. Right. So one of the areas that I work with the IT businesses that I work with on a day-to-day basis is helping them understand that you don't need to just outsource and delegate the things that you should be doing. You can actually outsource or delegate some of the other things that you're currently doing that free up your time to do the marketing and to do the stuff that is really important as well. So I think today it might be worthwhile if we talk about both angles. If we talk about, certainly you can outsource marketing and have a look at how you can get help with that. And it's interesting, Paco, I heard you talking about bots earlier on. That's something that's fascinated me. And I was chatting to a local company here in Newcastle upon Tyne called Chat Heroes, who have the chat box on the website, but they use humans to do it because they've already experienced that people are giving the pushback against the automation. And so perhaps it'd be worthwhile talking a little bit about why I favour using humans over automation wherever, not wherever possible, but where it's applicable in those situations. But outsourcing and delegation, it's a huge area. It's one that I'm surprised more IT businesses don't undertake. We are, at the end of the day, asking our clients to outsource and delegate their IT, their part of their business to us. And yet lots of us are sort of concerned about outsourcing and delegating parts of our own business. So I'd love to challenge that preconception. Yeah.
So what are some areas that you see are most commonly outsourced in small, IT businesses, solo consultants or smaller shops? Something that's because I think one of the biggest hurdles to outsourcing is that people just don't want to give up control. And they're afraid that if they give control to some aspect of their business to another business or another person, that it's not going to be them anymore. It's going to be some other thing, and then they're going to lose their identity, or their customers are going to revolt. So what are some approaches you've seen to choosing what's best to outsource and how to kind of alleviate that concern?
Well, let's tackle that first of all, where we talk about the idea, the assumption that we can't give up control within the business. So I used to run a managed service provider business with employees, but if I talk about what I do now, the business is Tubb Blog. It's all about Richard Tubb. I'm egotistical enough to put my name on the brands there. It's me. It's one person, except it's not. I've got a team of virtual assistants around me who help things ticking over. So I think I'm a really good example. People pay money to me, for my expertise, for my time, but I don't do everything within the business because I surround myself with people who are not just as good at, but better than me, Matt, at doing some of the things that I need to do, such as email marketing. Judith on my team is super hot at that. Holly, my PA, can get things organized in way quicker time than I ever could. Ross, who does podcasting and video editing for me, is so good at that. I could spend all day trying to edit a podcast or a video, and Ross can just do it really quickly. So it's not just about freeing up your time. You can actually get people on board who are not full-time employees, who you can pay for their time and expertise. They're going to be better at you at doing some of the things that need to be done within your business. So I want to throw that out there straight up front. If I can do it as the quintessential one-man band in my current business, and granted I'm not a computer technician or an IT technician anymore, but I still work within the IT industry, I think it's applicable to anyone. So for anybody maybe listening who's thinking, it ain't for me, I can't do that, I'd ask you to sort of go in with an open mind.
I can attest to that, because one of the best things I did for my business was to start using bringing on a virtual assistant. And I'll give a shout out to Madison. She helps with everything in Tech Site Builder for this podcast. She's the one who edits the videos. And that was just like a surprise. Like I brought her on to do customer service for TechSite Builder, and lo and behold, she's pretty good, pretty handy at editing videos. So she edits the podcast video. She'll send out the emails to the podcast guests. Richard, you probably got an email from her before the show here. And that's just, not only did it free up my time, not only does she do this stuff better, but she'll actually she'll find things that can be improved with the way I used to do it. So it's just helped not only free up my time, but it's helped improve all of those things that I was doing. And it's helped me to keep the show going, keep it, turn it into a video podcast, have it happen weekly like it does now. And none of that would have been possible without outsourcing to Madison. And shout out to Bojan over in Eastern Europe. He is the audio editor, and he does, I used to edit the podcast audio as well. And that would take me an hour at least. And he knocks it out in 30 minutes or less, and it's out there. And he tells me when I have audio issues, and I've had to swap out my audio interface to fix some audio issues. And I never would have picked up on that if I didn't use a professional. So I can attest to the how outsourcing certain things can just take the stuff you're producing to the next level.
Yeah, and it's not just a case of it's freeing up your time. Matt, as you said, what would take you an hour, your guy can do in sort of 30 minutes, and probably, dare I say, if your ego can take it to a much higher standard as well. But that time that's freed up of yours, what can you go and earn with that? What can you do? You can either invest that time back into the business, or perhaps you could earn double what you would do before by going out and doing some work for a client. So it's not this using virtual assistants, outsourcing, delegating is not just a cost to your business. It can be a net gain for your business. You can actually turn a profit from doing it as well.
For sure. So what are some of the best things that you can outsource, or how do you identify some good things that can be outsourced in your business?
Yeah, I think there's dozens of things. We could sit here all night and talk about it, but let me pick one that I think will resonate with everybody straight away, and that's this wonderful device here, which keeps us in touch with everybody on the planet, but also allows our clients to keep in touch with us whenever they choose to. I know I'm not alone in, sitting there working on a problem really deeply, and then the phone will ring, and another client will call my cell phone, my mobile phone, and they'll start wanting to talk to me. And I've got two choices. I can either divert my attention away from where I am and answer the call, or I can send it to voicemail, and the client probably gets a little bit irritated because they're not getting through to a human being. So the real low-hanging fruit, people don't think about this, but even when I was running an IT business with employees, we needed to have team meetings and things like that where we wanted to draw our attention away from the telephones. So a call answering service is a form of virtual assistance. It's a form of delegation. You can use a call answering service to pick up calls when you're busy. You could use a call answering service when you're in meetings, when you're doing business development. I regularly used to use a call answering service even as a one-man band when I put time in my diary to work on marketing. That stuff you say, I'll work on marketing, and then the phone rings and you get distracted from it. Making it an appointment with yourself, is really important to get the time there. And a call answering service can be somebody who answers the phone in the tone of your company, in a professional manner, and above all else, they set the expectation of the person at the other end. They can say, hey, Matt's not available at the moment, but he should be back online within an hour. Is it very urgent? Should I disturb him, or do you want me to, or should I pass a message on? And most people in my experience, even though they would prefer to get directly through to you as the individual they were calling, if the person they're speaking to sets their expectations, all is good, and most people are happy with that. So a call answering service would be the very first thing that I think most of us with computer businesses, IT businesses of any size could really benefit from using.
Yeah, to add on that, I've gone through exactly like what you mentioned. And for those, you can go into our archives of YFNCG. There is actually a blog post that talks about what are the top things to ask specifically on trying to get an answering service. And what I've learned over the last 4 years that I have employed an answering service, being that I'm technically a one-man army, but I do have other people with me, is when you mark yourself as the face of the business, you want that baby to thrive as much as possible. The biggest piece you have to understand is that any extension that you outsource will not be 100% and won't care as much as you do. So a good rule of thumb, at least that what I was told and what I adopt, is as long as they can get 70% of what you need them to do, that's probably a good percentage to gauge their thing to do. I have had several answering services that have really, really goofed up, but it's very rare on when they did the goof up. So it's not, and it's nothing nuclear where I got to cancel and I got to move over to a new service because they're not in line with my same ideas of what I want to do to treat them customers. It's one of those where you have to really think about how you're going to do this outsourcing and understand that it's not going to be a true extension of yourself, but in a way to alleviate a lot of the things. And if you mark on that 70% rule, you'll be okay. But I do talk about that in a little bit more detail in that blog post that I mentioned that we'll have in the show notes on what to ask when outsourcing to an answering service.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I think that that's a problem that that folks run into when they first start outsourcing, is that they expect the person or the company they're outsourcing to magically know how their business runs and what they expect of them, and the operating procedures you use and the stuff that's going on in your business. And there's a lot of work you got to do up front to put together procedures, to put together an SOP, to have the things that you'll need to train those people that you bring on board how to do. That's something I learned with Madison, was that she's great at what she does, but the way I do things are very specific to my business. And so I had to put together a lot of procedures and processes for her to follow so that I can kind of almost clone myself, the things that I did, and put them into some order and some process, take that and then give it to her. So I'm almost cloning myself, the things that I did, so that she can do them like I did them. And that's kind of a way to hopefully instill, how your business runs to the person you're outsourcing to. Another thing I wanted to say was that when I just lost my train of thought. I'll get back to it.
So kind of going into the whole deal of us talking about outsourcing and understanding, Richard, what would you say is probably the biggest way to kind of systemize this so you can outsource? So, I mean, there's so many ways of, writing a Word document, using project management software. What have you found as being the easiest to kind of document or just put these processes? And the second piece to that is, what's the easiest to translate over to that outsourcing partner, company, or service to help alleviate you in that part?
That's a fantastic question, Paco. I think, first of all, I'll answer that by saying, don't let the tool that you use to record the processes or the checklist, the documentation, get in the way of you actually doing the work and getting on documenting it. So many of us, especially those of us from a technical bent who are fascinated by tech and gadgets, we could spend all day looking around for the perfect method of keeping documentation. Look, a pen and paper works just fine. Grab a pen and paper, scribble down what needs to do. The important thing here is to get stuff out of your head, as Matt was saying earlier, to sort of clone that, get that knowledge out and putting it down somewhere. So there's no excuse for anybody, to spend days and days researching the tool, just get it down on paper. With that said, once you start progressing, once you start getting those processes and documentation in place, for the managed service providers or the IT companies on the line, there's a tool that my clients have been using for a while called IT Glue, which is a technology tool. And actually, if I can give a real cheap plug here, I've got a webinar going with them it's next Thursday here in the UK, where we're talking specifically about documentation and how important it is for working with remote workers. So there's my cheap plug for the for our session. But
I'll grab that link from you and put it in the show notes. So you guys, if you want to check that out, head over to the show notes and you can jump on that webinar next week.
But IT Glue, not to sit and plug their product, but a lot of my clients use it because it's built by an IT company. And so the templates and things that go into it are really important to them. But at the end of the day, within my business, because it's not strictly an IT business, I use a tool called manifest.ly, which is a checklist, a process tool. But anything really where pen and paper is good enough, just start getting stuff down out of your head and onto paper. When I first was running the IT company and documenting some of these things, it was a Word document. And I just had a Word document, with IP addresses, usernames, passwords. I was high on security, as we all were back in the 2000s. Just put everything down into a Word document there. But it worked. And whatever information was in there, if I needed to take time off a holiday, sickness, whatever, when I was working with other people to cover, or when I was bringing employees on, they weren't constantly tapping me on the shoulder and saying, hey, what's the IP address of that server, and how do I remote into it, and what's the username, what's the password? The information was there. So basically, I could hand anybody who was competent, this pad of information, and they'd be able to get on with the job. That's still true today. So we've got tools like IT Glue, we've got tools like Manifestly that enable us to do all this in a much more slick manner. But the bottom line is, you need to get stuff out of your head, down onto paper. Whether you're taking on employees, whether you're outsourcing, whether you're delegating, that's a key part of any growing IT business, or any business really.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And that's helped me a lot as well, is to just get it out of my head, because it does nobody any good if it stays in your head. People aren't mind readers.
And if I can throw something in there, Matthew, just on a personal level, forgive me for interrupting, because I often used to say to people, well, you should do this. And they go, I'll wait until tomorrow. And I used to say, well, what happens if you get knocked over? And they used to go, it'll never happen. So just to throw a personal story in, last year I spent a lot of time in hospital because I was knocked over in a hit and run accident. Oh. And it wasn't a lot of fun, but it happens. And I thought it would never happen. But thankfully, my business as it is now is documented, is systemized. I've got a team of virtual assistants around me. And to the outside world, things just kept ticking over. The blog posts still kept going out of there, and the work was going over. It does happen to us. So however young, old, anywhere in between, if you think it's not going to happen to you, life gets in the way. Life happens. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. And so we're getting to the end of our time here, but one last thing I wanted to ask you was, so if we're, I'm a big fan of the virtual assistant. I think it's great to have someone, and you can have a part-time, someone who just works for you a few hours a day, or even a handful of hours a week, just to help you get organized, to help you kind of, again, get those thoughts out of your head and then put them into a procedure, or answer emails or answer phones. What, in your opinion, is a good place to go finding virtual assistants? Because it's this big, magic word, and they're not just going to fall out of the sky. You got to go and find them somewhere. So what are some of your favorite places to find them?
Sure. Well, the favorite place to find them would be locally. So if you go to a local business networking event, or you ask other local business owners, hey, I'm looking to bring somebody on board to do some of this work. It's not a full-time position. It's not an employee gig, but do you know anybody who can do that? Go to local networking events, and it's a really good idea anyway for any computer business, because you're going to meet prospective clients getting out there. Yeah, we shouldn't overlook the fact that in some of the developing economies in the world, they have people who deliver high quality work for prices that by our standards are very low. So I've had transcriptions done in the Philippines, research and marketing work done out of the Philippines and in India and places like that. So don't overlook that. And a book recommendation to anybody who's thinking about outsourcing or delegating to other parts of the world would be a book called Virtual Freedom by an author called Chris Ducker. You can find Chris Ducker on Twitter as well. And great book, and it will just teach you about what to look for when you're looking for a virtual admin in another part of the world. But when I talk about virtual admins, it's not just outsourcing to the other side of the world. It's, it can be somebody just down the road. My team are all UK based, and that's the choice that I made there. I pay a little bit more for the privilege there, but sure, they deliver high quality service. But ask around is probably the best place to start. You'll be surprised how many people out there are able to help you with your issues.
Awesome, great stuff. So I think this will be a good foundation for folks who are still thinking about it to get started. Delegating and outsourcing some of this stuff, so they can free your time up to do more marketing or to do other things in your business and grow your business, take it to the next level. Like you said, 2x, 10x, whatever x your business. Before we let you go, just talk a little bit about your book, the IT Business Owner Survival Guide. What's in that, and what can that do for folks who are interested?
Thank you. Yeah, so the book was put together basically from the number of conversations I had with IT business owners, specifically smaller shops, one-man bands, 5 employees and less, where they'd not taken a holiday in years. They were working all the hours, but not getting the rewards for it, and all the problems that go along with that, health, relationship, everything else that goes with working long hours and not looking after yourself. So the book is basically some practical, actionable techniques that I myself used to survive when I was running an IT business, and that can help just put your head above water and start to gain control of the business. I talked earlier on about the idea of wanting to own a business rather than own a job. And that is essentially where the book goes. It talks about techniques. If you haven't got time to do marketing, how can you make the time for it? If you've constantly been bombarded with email, how can you deal with that? It's really survival techniques, but once these simple techniques are put in place, it gives you the freedom and the time to concentrate on what's important and to grow your business and get it where you really want the business to be.
Awesome. And that's why we're here. That's what it's all about, is taking the business to the next level, being successful. We appreciate your insights today. Folks can find you at tubblog.co.uk, and we'll have links to everything we talked about, the book, the blog, the books, some of the other books that we recommended, and some of the services we recommended will all be in the show notes. You can find that at computerbusinessmarketing.com, and then look for episode 14. And all of the info will be there. So thanks again, Richard. This has been a lot of fun chatting with you, and we'll stay in touch, all right?
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of both of what you're doing there, so please keep it up. I really appreciate what you're doing for the whole IT community. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So we're going to move on with the show with the marketing tip of the week. But before we do that, I want to give a quick shout out to our second sponsor, which is the Unconvention. The Unconvention is the place to be if you are a computer business owner. Basically, if you're listening to this show, you should be coming to the Unconvention. It is the event of the year for IT business owners. It's going to be taking place in Washington, D.C. on September 16th and 17th. It's sponsored by Malwarebytes, as well as put together by Instant House Call and yours truly at TechSite Builder. And we're really excited to have the second annual DC Unconvention the second annual Unconvention in Washington, D.C. We're finishing up we're getting ready with all the finishing touches for the conference. We're getting the food vendors. We're going to have a lot of cool local food vendors that are going to be serving breakfast and lunch on both days. But what I'm really excited about is the group sessions that we're going to have. And that's kind of what the Unconvention is built around, is getting IT business owners together in the same space to network and talk about what's working in your business and ask questions of other IT business owners to see what's working in their business. And it's really just a collaborative get together. We have what we're calling working groups. We'll have labs so you can see demonstrations of different technology. And the labs are going to be kind of cool because it's not like a typical tech lab where you see someone, sitting there showing you, behind the scenes of a product, and then you're just sitting there watching it. It's going to be very interactive. And we're going to show you not only technology like networking, and like Mike Smith from the Mike Tech Show is going to walk you through all of the tools that he uses in his business. But we're also going to talk about other skills like SEO, for example. I'm going to do the lab on SEO, and I'm going to show you the different tools that I use to monitor SEO and how I can spy on my competitors to see what they're doing for their SEO, and all the different things that I use for my website SEO. We also have labs on compliance, so you can learn more about HIPAA, FINRA, PCI, and how you can leverage those to grow your business, and a bunch of other stuff. So check it out at unconvention.io. Paco's going to be there, so it's a chance for you to meet Paco because you're not going to be seeing him anymore on the show. So Paco, I'll put you on the spot really quick. What are you looking forward to the most at the Unconvention? The
people, Matt. Essentially, I've always found that with these type of intimate settings are always the best, and that's with any conference, but specifically the Unconvention. Going to Toronto last year, I found a lot of great value just speaking with my peers one-on-one, and that's normally when you get a lot of the ideas, the solutions, and a lot of the growth that you have when going to these type of things. And what we've done is we obviously designed this Unconvention to be able to really maximize that potential to receive. And now that it's in the States and in the nation's capital, makes it even more of a reason why those to really come out, experience the scenery, and really talk to one another, because I think that's where you're going to get the biggest value. And that's what I'm looking forward to when we go on September 16th and 17th.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It's just hanging out with like-minded folks and networking. We had a lot of fun last year at the Unconvention, and we all hung out afterwards, and we had a beer at a local restaurant after the actual convention was over. So it's a great opportunity to just hang out and have fun. So check that out at unconvention.io. When you purchase your tickets, use the coupon code TSB, and that'll give you $40 off your admission to the Unconvention. So we'll see you in September in Washington, D.C. All right. Before we go, I want to talk about our tip of the week, and that is brought to you one final time by our very own Paco LeBron. What do you got for us?
Yep. So one thing that I've been looking into, and what's something that is very overlooked, is testing the speed of your website. Now, there's a lot of times where those that are implementing a lot of scripts, a lot of other third-party services, a lot of third-party plugins, there are things where sometimes if they're not patched properly, or just the fact that how they were designed, tend to take a big lag on your site's performance. And it's one of those where Google really does take a look at the site speeds and really understanding what's on that website. And we're not just talking about desktop, but we're talking about the responsiveness of your website, especially for mobile. And for those that know, Google made that change where mobile sites are going to get those with a responsive design are going to get a much bigger or a big impact for their search results. So it's something to always take a look at. There are many websites to kind of monitor that if you're hosting or you're doing a third party, or you can always go with Tech Site Builder. We'll go ahead and take care of that for you. And that's one of the main reasons why they advertise on, they make sure everything's secure. And I'm a Tech Site Builder user where everything is secure, everything is kept up to date. But the biggest piece is they do what they can to optimize your site. And when everyone hears optimize, they're thinking, oh, it's a fancy word, great, they got it optimized. They never really put the context of it. And speed is one of those things where Matthew and his team are really making sure that hosting platform and your site is going to be at the biggest speed. But obviously that is only to a degree, because if you're entering your own scripts on the back end of any type of platform, you really got to make sure that they're not taking a big hit to your site speed. And that's something to make sure to monitor. And that's the tip for the week.
Cool. And there are a few places you can go to test your site speed. The two that I recommend, one's called gtmetrics.com, and the other one is called webpagetest.org. And I'll put the links to those in the show notes. But it's good to get at least two different speed tests, because they each find different things, and they'll each give you a different score. One can give you a horrible score. Another one can give you a great score, because they're focusing on different things. Mm-hmm. So if you're a Tech Site Builder user, test your site. If you see any issues, send them over to support, and we'll take care of it. Otherwise, if you're running your own website, these sites will give you step-by-step what you can do to fix the speed issues, and then either you can fix it or you can send it to your web developer or whoever to fix it. But yeah, that's definitely an important thing that we want to pay attention to. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Let's keep the conversation going. Head over to computerbusinessmarketing.com. Let us know what you think about the show in the show notes, in the comments there, or head over to the Facebook page and in the comments under the video. Let us know what you think. We appreciate all the feedback you give us. You can also send us questions to the email at mail@techsitebuilder.com, or just visit computerbusinessmarketing.com. We have a contact form there you can fill out to let us know what you're thinking.
Yep. And if you guys listen to the podcast on iTunes or Stitcher, be sure to give us a shout out and leave a review. We love to hear your feedback, and every comment helps so that the podcast can be found by others out there. And I'll take this moment to kind of sign off in a way per se. I want to basically thank all the listeners over the years on the Computer Business Podcast and on the Computer Business Marketing Show. A lot of you have shown a lot of great support. I really appreciate the insight. And I really appreciate those that reached out to send their farewells, those that had sought insight over the years. I appreciate every one of you. And I also appreciate Matthew Rodella for allowing me the opportunity to be able to say and speak on the views that I have in our industry. And I can't repay him for the opportunity of being able to do that and help all those out there. As much value as I received from his resources, his books, and him on the podcast, I'm very thankful that I can do the same in the tenure that I had here on the show.
Well, it's been a pleasure. It's been my pleasure to have you, and you've done nothing but increase the value of the show. So we're definitely going to miss you. Don't be a stranger. We'll definitely be in touch and maybe bring you back on to be a guest in the future every now and then. So, definitely thank you. And for the rest of you guys, we'll be back. I'll be back next week for another edition of the Computer Business Marketing Show. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, unconvention.io and techsitebuilder.com. Thank you for checking out the Computer Business Marketing Show. This is Matthew Rodella.
And this is Paco LeBron,
saying here's to your success.